So it has been over 2 months since Once Human launched, and the game is doing very well. The game is available on Steam, Epic Games Store, and the mobile version is scheduled for release on September 26th. So far, the game has reached 10 million downloads. It broke into the number 5 slot globally for most played games on Steam. They've spent most of their 2 months in the top 10 list for weekly top sellers on Steam, with a pair of appearances in the top 5 for earnings. It also has an impressive 72% positive on Steam out of 86,207 reviews posted. So with all those stats, it's easy to back up the claim that Once Human is a very solid game. If you are the type of person who likes multiplayer open world survival games set in a strange post-apocalyptic future that has separate servers for PvP and PvE, you might say, where do I sign up? In fact, I could even give you a friend code to get you to come into the game. But then we're going to run into a problem. You won't be able to play on my server, even if you use my friend code, even if I try to give you a server invitation code, because my server is hard full. Unless I'm willing to re-roll a fresh character and start over, there is no way for us to play together. And that is Once Human's biggest problem. And it is the one, in my opinion, if they don't get fixed as soon as possible, will lead to the game slowly bleeding players to a point where the population will be too small to sustain itself. Why is this the biggest problem? Gamers want to game today, right now, instant gratification, instant reward on tap. As it is right now, my server is about halfway through phase 4. So if you want to link up with me, you have to wait 2 to 3 weeks. And that's only if I was going to go to the next scenario, which is a PvP scenario. If I'm not going there, you would have to wait between 6 and 7 weeks to link up with me. You could immediately start on a server today, but you still won't be able to link up with me until you've played through the Nalcott map in either PvP or PvE. Now, earlier this season, they decided to hard lock servers after 10 days. They did this because they wanted to have equal progression. Now, as a player, I can 100% appreciate Starry Studios' concern with keeping equal progression. However, my belief is that players would rather start playing with their friends today and worry about progression later. Right now, if I had friends able to join my server, I could carry them through the content. Now, the biggest thing they would have missed would have been the weeks 1 through 3 purification. So one fix or quality of life adjustment I think could help with progression would be to change how the weekly purification works. Instead of being able to purify 40 cortexes per week, a very small change could be that the count goes up by 40 cortexes per week. This way, if you join a server later, you'd still be able to purify up to the 240 cortexes you might have missed. This also creates just a little forgiveness when it comes to needing to miss playtime. Now, we were told that starting on 26 September, new players shall be allowed to enter any scenario without any time restrictions. And while this is the right decision, I'm not 100% sure it's going to solve the overall issue. Currently, my server is full. I have friend codes, but those friend codes will not allow friends onto my server today. Now, we do have a new rule going into place in 12 days. A new friend could link up with me on my current server. We could stay there for a week or two while my new friend gets Starcrom, clears the map, farm mods, and then moves on to the PvP scenario. And after that, we could move on to the PvE scenario. Or we could sit out the PvP scenario, and then at the end of the 4 weeks, we could move on to the next scenario together. Assuming that in phase 6, enough people leave my server to allow new character creation. But, and this is actually happening to a lot of friend groups, what if I have an old friend who joined 2 weeks into this season? Now I have no choice but to wait at least 2 weeks for my old friend to finish their scenario. There is currently no plan for anything that looks like server transfers. In fact, the head of overseas operations for Once Human recently said, when players have played a scenario for a season for 6 weeks, they will have the option to change to another scenario. But within the 6 weeks, we don't have a plan for them to transfer to other servers or scenarios, so they have to start over. That's also because we want to stabilize the players in the server, because if they left in the middle, that would not be fair to other players who are playing the same scenario and season with them, and would also impact the server's ecosystem. The current design is that they have to finish at least 6 weeks, so after that, it can change to other scenarios they want. Now, I'm not 100% sure that scenarios will always be 6 weeks because of this previous slide that said different scenarios have different lengths. However, this is something that I have to disagree with. Right now, as Once Human stands, there isn't a lot of damage that is done to the season, the scenario, or the ecosystem when new players come in. I could see this as a problem for the PvP servers if a warband suddenly got reinforcements. But for the PvE servers, I failed to see how they would damage if you allow players onto them. I absolutely could see servers dying if you allow players off. So that does impact the value of some of these alternatives. First, I could be allowed to go backwards to link up with my friend. It would have to be set so that I don't earn any more rewards. So whatever progress I had on my server in this scenario is the progress I keep, which would mean no new blueprint fragments, my wish machine doesn't reset, and this might be the sticky wicket for why developers can't make this option happen. This would also leave my server without a Jahlon, and I might be an impactful person. The loss of me and several other people could lead that server to not be able to finish content. The other option is to get rid of the waiting time to move forward. So old friend would miss out on 2 weeks worth of farming, some events, some face stuff, while shooting forward to join us. But at least we would all be together. We would understand from this point forward, we might have a harder time carrying our old friend until they got caught up, but we would be together. You could allow players to start making their reservations to go to their next scenario as soon as the first servers in a season mature. I believe because the first server started on 18 August, they will mature on 29 September. Allow everyone, be it on the servers that started on 18 August or any of the weeks after, to register for their future server. While this might cause some growing pains for the next season or two, it would absolutely help friends get linked together and hopefully would smooth things out. Another option could be adding padding to the first servers in a season, pushing them a little closer to the 7 to 7.5 week time frame, and cutting the fat off of some of the later servers so they get chopped to close to 5.5 or even 5 weeks. Adding in that purification running tally would help players compensate for the slightly shorter season, but you would no longer have players on a lagging tail waiting for their friends so that they can link up. Finally, I think there may be some value in Starry Studios examining if they should keep servers together unless players decide to leave them. This would absolutely open up the ability for people to leave a server and then would create more manageable numbers. This might be a little harder to pull off. However, it would keep the very ecosystem that Starry wants. As when you start putting random people together every 6 weeks, the dynamic and the social interactions change. Maybe this is what Starry wants. Maybe it isn't. But a 6-week season is very short. But when you are on a server with a bunch of people you can't tolerate, 6 weeks is an eternity. It's that same eternity you experience when you can't link up with your friends. Maybe this isn't the biggest problem. Maybe you agree. Maybe you disagree. Either way, I'd love to hear some comments and what you think and what other Once Human content I should cover.